we do have to remind ourselves sometimes
Yeah.
of how far we've come. And like sometimes I told you that blower was gonna be the worst part about, and it comes at the part.
Oh my God.
It comes at a part where it's like the deepest part of like
Right.
like I had such a deep thought and it just ruined everything. And welcome to the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
Hey,
What's up?
I am tired.
You are tired. You just came back from a girls trip.
I did. There was
Yeah.
not a lot of sleeping. So,
Of course.
it's,
Of course.
you know,
The lawn.
the lawnmower's got to troll us. It's
Got to.
on Monday.
They never
you know?
come on Mondays. They always come like Thursday, Fridays, or even Saturdays.
Right.
But this week, they're here on a Monday.
Of
Although it
course.
sounds like he just left.
Yeah,
Probably
he
went
should
to
be
the
done
bathroom.
soon.
Yeah. Next comes the blower when they're going to blow right
Oh,
by the garage
that's
door.
so true, and
gonna
it's
be
so
like
loud.
right in the middle. Yeah, it's going to be right in the middle of the show.
Right in the middle of intro or something.
Anyway, this show is brought to you by...
Katie with Monarch Pine. So if you are looking for jewelry findings or metal blanks, small metal blanks, check her out on her new website, monarchpine.com. And the codes are now set up on her website since she's switching from Etsy to the website.
Sure.
So code Riley Black and you get 10% off. Patrons get more though, so make sure to check that out if you're a patron.
Yes. Also, there's a Riley Black Project Facebook community, which apparently people who listen aren't a part of.
Some are.
So
Some don't know it
Be
exists.
sure to join if you're not. And if you're a patron and you're not part of the TRBP Hangout Facebook group, that's
Yeah.
the private Facebook group for you guys, where we do our After Darks.
Yeah.
And we post in there about
The codes and
codes
stuff, yeah.
and all kinds of stuff as
Yep.
well. You're going to want to stick around for the life update because we have an announcement to make.
Yeah.
And no, we're not expecting a third.
Oh my God.
So you get that out of your mind right now.
Ugh, JR did that the other
That's-
day, though. That was not cool.
Yeah, that's not one of them. So
No.
if that's what you're waiting for, you don't have to stick around for the life update. Because that is not one of the announcements.
Right.
But it is pretty big.
Yeah.
It is another baby, but it's
It
not
is.
that kind of baby.
No.
But yeah. But you're going to stick around because this is going to be a fun conversation.
Yes, I think
Because
so.
we have a great guest. Joining the show today is Collin.
It's joining the show today is the lawnmower. I wondered, they probably can't even hear it.
We should have
but
him
we hear.
come in and just
Right.
talk to us.
Interview him about his
Yeah,
small business.
About his small business and how he got started with lawn care since he wants to be on the show.
Right.
But no, joining us is Collin of Stencil Stop. How's it going?
Good. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. I
Yeah.
mean, so it's funny because you're the first one, like I've shot my shot a couple times on Instagram for someone who like caught my eye, who either had like a really cool, business or, yours. It was even better because it's actually laser related and this
Right.
is a laser podcast. But I had, he posted, I forget what even the one was.
The Bad Bunny one.
Oh yeah, it was Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he.
Oh, was it the tutorial one? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then I think that's how I saw that it was that you cut it on the laser.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's so cool. And I commented and I was like, hey, if you're interested, we'd love to have you on the podcast. And I do that like
Right.
not often, but often enough. And I've sent like DMs, I've sent emails before. And a lot of times I'm sure a good portion of the time I go to spam. But this time he actually saw it. It was 8 weeks later.
It's all right.
But it was perfect timing because
Sorry about that.
I saw that. No, don't worry at all. Like you said, yes, that made my day enough. And I was like, who is this? I honestly had forgot I had even like
Right.
said that because
you figured
as soon as I
they'd
send
know.
it, it's out of my
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to respond to this, but
Right.
I feel better sending it.
Right, exactly. I shot my shot and he's like, hey, I'd love to. And I was like, what? So, yeah, tell us a little bit about, I can't say your company name, Stencil Stop. I have to
Yes.
think really.
There you go. Take it slow.
But yeah, tell me about like how you got into it, a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I graduated from college in 2014 and my major was packaging science. So I started my career as a packaging designer for like working at a box plant doing structural design. So not graphic design, but like how
So
boxes fold up, glue together, get cut
Yeah.
out, that type of thing.
Interesting.
And, yeah, very random. And
Right? Yeah. I love
yeah,
it though.
admittedly very random.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a business to start. I don't know, back then, this is almost 10 years ago now. Like,
Yeah.
I guess it is 10 years ago, last month, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. And just started all kinds of random businesses back then. So we're talking 2015. It's a lot of like drop shipping,
Yeah.
when you're looking for ideas online.
Right.
And e-commerce was still really like, I think Shopify was just getting started. So it wasn't so easy necessarily
Right.
to still set up a website, although
Yeah.
Shopify was around. And I went to Clemson University, and one of the ideas I came up with a friend was taking their logo and turning that into a stencil. So that obviously, that's almost like a niche of a niche, and so
Right.
that ended up happening, and it started out really slowly, but the kind of iconic thing I remember was that before I even had the license between me, I set up a website just to test out the idea.
Right.
And someone had purchased one the first night that it was up. Like I woke up to an order.
Wow.
And it was like, I don't even, when you set up a website, it's like I don't know what page of Google that it's even on. I don't know how you find it, right? Yeah. It wasn't like I tweeted it out or like sent it to people. So that really like I don't know, maybe that gave me a little juice of like, all right, there's people want to buy these things, right?
For sure, yeah.
After a few years, I want to say like 2 or 3 years, a couple customers asked for custom stencils. And I'm talking 2 or 3 years of like hundreds of dollars of sales a month. I still had a job. Like it was something that, it was just kind of sitting there. And I guess keep in mind too that as a packaging designer, I made all these at work. So I had access to a machine at work. It wasn't a laser cutter, but it was what we used to create packaging prototypes. So like,
what was it?
It's Kongsberg is like the brand of the machine.
Okay.
A CAD table is what we would call it, right? Like the non-brand name. And it cuts. It's a flatbed cutter. It's like a laser, but it has a blade instead of it has a blade, and then for like corrugated boxes, a scoring wheel to replicate like where folds would happen. So so that's how I would make everything on kind of like after work, whenever when everyone left, like pretty sketchy. And to be honest, and after like I think 2018 is when we got our laser. So I found a space. One of my friends, his dad owned an old like airplane hangar, probably slightly bigger than this room. And it was, out in the middle of this old decommissioned airport, and it was $100 a month. And so kind of had saved up some money from work and really maybe very little from the actual business, and bought the laser cutter, put it in there, and kind of around the same time started making custom stencils for people. And again, at first it just started like a customer asked. Shout out to that customer. I don't know who they are, but started this whole journey of actually making custom stencils something that people could buy.
So what were the stencils that you were selling before the customs?
It was a lot of like logos, so some of the college logos, but getting all that licensing was pretty difficult. So it was just like symbols, like basic shapes. And I remember, because where I went to college was in South Carolina, so like the South Carolina flag, things like that.
What were they using them for? Miscellaneous? Was it all for painting?
The idea back then was that it was like a DIY project type tool. So you can make put your South Carolina flag on your front door sign or whatever.
Or like a cornhole board.
Cornhole, like
Lone Star Adhesive has elevated the industry standard with their premium leatherette, UV printed goods, and American-made products in leather, acrylic, PVC, and their indestructible thermal activated adhesive.
You can check them out at lonestaradhesive.com or join their Facebook community of nearly 30,000 fellow makers who share the belief that you shouldn't cut corners and instead stick to excellence.
Lone Star Adhesive official group is where it's at, and you can use code TRBP15 to get 15% off your next purchase.
Go get you some.
Go.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than the Crazy Laser Dad's Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced and tested and ready to use on your laser. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for your customers.
Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their Laser Ready Blanks. Cool. So what was your first laser?
We got a Boss laser.
Nice.
The 5436 or
Okay. Yeah.
something, whatever that
A
kind
bigger
of
one.
mid-size one is.
Yeah.
So what kind of change did you notice going from like the cutting table to now a laser?
Yeah. Changing from the cutting table to the laser was pretty hard because I would just go to like a random plastic store and buy plastic and obviously cut that with a blade. So there's no like gas issues,
Right,
but when you
laser
switch over
safe.
to the laser, there was only certain things you can cut on, right? Certain
Right.
plastics or materials are going to melt, they're going to burn.
Right.
And it was really difficult to find the right material, and we ended up finding it. And back then we would buy it in rolls and then cut the rolls by hand into sheets. Now we get sheets, luckily.
Nice.
But yeah, it was quite the process because not only do you have to figure out the material, and as you guys I'm sure know, like there's not really a standardized, or if there is, you can let me know. There's not like standardized laser cutting. This isn't like a college major.
Right.
There's not textbooks. And like,
Right.
This is the settings that you use this material with this type of laser cutter.
Well, and even then, like I kind of like, people will be like, oh, here's my settings, or, even sell them. And I'm like, I don't know, because you can have the same exact laser as your friend and you try those same settings and they won't work for you.
Right.
So, and even more so with like lasers like the fiber, you have like, they're just very particular to that machine, to your tube, to like so many different factors, to I think even to your climate and your environment. They might even act different, like in humidity and no humidity and that kind of stuff.
Phase,
literally.
Mercury retrograde.
Right.
Like there's a bunch of
So yeah, you have to like, they can, if you find settings, yes, it's great to have a starting point. I always love to have a starting point. So I'm not like, oh, is this one that, at least tells me do I need to go faster with this? Do I need to go slower? Those kind of things. Like acrylic, it's actually better to go, they call it like low and slow, so that you get the cleaner, edges and
like
that kind of stuff.
Meats. Low and slow.
See, there you go. But yeah, you don't go crazy with the power, but you go slower, which means you actually do want the power a little bit lower because you're spending more time over the material. But yeah, if you don't have anywhere to start from that, like I actually found the community first, which helped so that like when I did it, I kind of had like people to ask. But even then, it's Facebook groups and that kind of stuff.
Well, and it's not Facebook groups the way they are now.
Right. And you'd ask a question and it'd be in a huge group. And like sometimes you get a million answers and sometimes you get zero.
Right.
So, and what was the material that you ended up on? Was it Mylar, I think?
Mylar plastic. Yeah. 14
Yeah.
mil is what we use typically, and
Nice.
10 mil sometimes. Yeah, that's what we use to this day. Yeah.
So what were the custom requests that you were getting? Were they like their logos or just like any random?
I actually have the first custom request it's tucked away somewhere. I went back and found it because I was like, this is legendary. It's like a calligraphy style M. It's just the letter M, just kind of like curly.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was used for. So I think a lot of it started out because, like I said, it was positioned as DIY, that it would be like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this home project. And we certainly started getting logos pretty early on in the process. Yeah,
Yeah.
like custom company logos. Yeah.
Did you still have a job when you got that initial space? Like, is this your full-time job or, thing now? And like,
Yes.
how did it kind of get there?
Sure. So I definitely still had a job while we had that laser cutter. I think it was probably for 6 months or maybe like 9 months, closer to a year. And I want to say our revenue was still not in the hundreds, but maybe like
Right.
1,000, or
Yeah.
might have had a comma in it.
Yeah.
But I was in 2018, so I was 26 or 25, I guess. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I just was looking back, definitely I wouldn't do it the same way again,
Yeah.
because that's pretty crazy. But I just in my head was like, I could get another job of the one that I have. I have this specific degree and skill set of being a
Right.
packaging designer that I can still at an entry level position. I could always probably get this entry level position. So
Yeah.
now is the time to
Right.
make this leap and see if I can really make this business happen. And
Right.
I did the math too of like, if I had more time, I felt like I could grow the business.
Right.
And that turned out to be the case. So,
Yeah.
it worked out. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend taking that big of a risk.
Yeah,
being
I
a little
mean,
older and looking back on it, it's like,
well, and I mean,
crazy.
that's pretty young though. So I mean, like if you listen to any of the motivational speakers, they would have told you to make that leap in a second. You know what I mean? When you're younger,
Yeah.
if you're, not married, no kids, like we've taken a lot of leaps and we do have a home to pay for and kids to support and feed.
It's a lot scarier.
Yeah, a lot
I mean,
scarier.
It always seems scary no matter where you are in life. But with getting older, you have a different perspective, and for us, it's an easy go for it.
Right.
But when you haven't had, like you don't have the responsibility of kids, your responsibilities at that age are still big responsibilities to you. So it still seems scary. It's just when you're at when
hindsight,
you're a little older and you have like, you have the house, you have kids, you have more responsibilities. It seems like an easier, for sure do it. I mean, we just said that to somebody the other day who was like, oh, I don't know if I should like leave my full-time job for this and that. And we're like, does your husband? Oh, he's my boyfriend. Oh, you're not even married? Go for it.
Yeah.
Like just because that's one less, like go for it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you don't know we never know what's going to happen down the road, but even more so, like you have nothing holding you back. So if you fail, you can always come back.
Right.
You can always, or you can fail at that, but that leads to another opportunity, because that's usually how it happens. You kind of like, I think it's Denzel who famously said like fall forward. You usually fall forward and like you learn something along the way, and even though this portion failed, now you have this toolkit to take you to the next one, and that'll go a little further and that. So yeah, for sure. It seems scary at the time, but definitely the time to go forward.
Growing a side hustle when you have a full-time job is always very difficult. It'll, you're really limited in your availability, in your time, in your resources. And it can, when it's your side hustle, a lot of times it can only just get like so big. You hit a cap.
You hit that fork in the road where you keep it as a side hustle and you start saying no more often, or you fully embrace it and take the leap and then start saying yes to a lot more opportunities.
Right.
It's kind of gets to that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you guys are right. Kind of rewinding of like the mindset that I had back then is it's refreshing to hear like you guys in your risk taking mindset, right? Because I think as a business owner, you're like so risk averse. You're actually just constantly calculating like how much risk you can take and trying to actually, you know, mitigate it all day. So I think thank you for reminding me that that's actually a good move and should be more encouraging of people to do that. I guess my point was like, if your business is literally making hundreds of dollars, maybe like wait a little bit longer.
Right.
But like I think generally what you're saying is right. Like,
well,
go
and
for it, man.
I mean, so we've done the same thing. You know, we moved into this house 2 years ago, and he wasn't making any money doing videography.
I was
really,
making a little bit
like
of editing. I was doing,
right, that's true. You're doing editing work, but it was in the couple hundreds. It was, you know, here and there. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't taking like a ton of his time. It was like 1 or 2 nights a week where he'd have to, you know, spend that like night, you know, editing or whatever. And we did find it difficult to find the work out here.
Much like your start, I was using company materials or company software to edit the stuff. But so we already knew that the exit was imminent. Like like I was gonna exit. We were just gonna have to save this amount of money to save, and then just like life said, here you go. Are you really gonna do it?
Right. Here's your opportunity.
You say you're gonna do it? Okay, I'm gonna give you an opportunity. See if you take it or not.
Right.
Kind of deal.
It was terrifying.
It was super terrifying. And then here, so I worked in news. I worked in local news.
Okay.
And when we moved here, I was like, we're in the middle of 2 news markets, but they're both an hour and a half away. So it's going to be very difficult to find. So I was basically taking away my security blanket of falling back and just getting a job. Right. Because I could get a job, but it's going to be an hour and a half away just to get to the station. Yeah. And then I'm going to be driving. I mean, I drove all over Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and even the Keys and stuff like that with that job. So I was going to be driving all the time. Yeah. So I kind of took away that safety net, which was added more pressure and made it even more terrifying to do. But sometimes you just, you know, you can't like not take a great opportunity. And when you're seeing it grow, right, that's when you really have to say, or you see a really good potential of growth. Like it might not be growing out, but the reason why it might not be growing is because you can't put 100% of your effort into it. Right. So and we do have to, like you say, we do have to remind ourselves sometimes of how far we've come. And like sometimes I told you that blower was gonna be the worst part about it. And it comes at a part. Oh my God. It comes at a part where it's like the deepest part of like like I had such a deep thought and it just ruined everything. It's like, have you seen that reel of a comedian hands the guy one of those the confetti things? No. And he's like, whenever you feel right in the show, I did see that. And then he's talking about his mother dying, and he's like, he's in it, and he pops it, and the crowd starts laughing, and he loses like that build of the story. But the Riley Black Project is sponsored by Monarch Pine.
Monarch Pine is your trusted source for premium laser blanks and jewelry findings. From large loop earring hooks made specifically for acrylic and wood earrings to laser-tested stainless steel necklace and bracelet blanks, they have everything you need to bring your creative ideas to life.
As a maker, you know the value of quality supplies. And that's exactly what Monarch Pine delivers. Whether you're crafting as a hobby or running a full-time business, their products make it easy to design confidently and create stunning pieces.
Head to monarchpine.com and use code RileyBlack to get 10% off your order. Riley Black patrons get an even bigger discount, so don't miss out.
While you're at it, join the Monarch Pine Craft Supply Insiders Facebook group. It's a vibrant community where makers share tips, inspiration, and their incredible creations.
Monarch Pine, where your creativity takes center stage. Visit monarchpine.com and use code RileyBlack today.
Not tomorrow.
Today. Hey guys, how great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape the 9-to-5 and embrace a lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Above and Beyond webinar, where you'll learn how you can make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon Laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head on over to eonlaser.us/why us and sign up for the Above and Beyond webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on.
Bye. That's going to be one of our shorts,
right,
though.
Yeah,
we
right.
just got.
No, what I would say is like we have to celebrate our wins and remind ourselves that our version 5 years earlier wished we would get to where we are now.
Very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And would celebrate where we are now. Like we thought about being here 5-10 years ago, and we have to like sometimes we have to sit back and remind ourselves of how far we've come and look where we started and what our mindset was when we started and where we wanted to be and see how close we are to that.
Yeah.
If not surpassed it.
Right.
So
how did like the first few months go for you after you made that leap? What did that look like?
I was working all day, every day, pretty much. The sales did go up pretty quickly, and we're talking low-hanging fruit stuff here, right? Not like anything novel or crazy happened. It was very much like not running Google ads. Now I'm running Google ads, like stuff that I just didn't have time to manage. I had time for now.
Yeah.
The sales were coming in enough that I actually hired my first employee, a designer, to like remotely design all the custom orders.
Yeah.
Great. And she's still with me today.
Awesome.
I actually went to the Philippines last summer and met 4 of my employees, which was really cool.
Wow.
And she was one of them. So
yeah.
That actually gave me a lot of confidence. And I know we're going to talk about like books and tools later, but just outsourcing. I back then had read 4-Hour Work Week. I don't know if you heard of that.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. Basically talks a lot about outsourcing, and it's kind of like one of those early pre Shopify e-commerce books about, you know, optimizing things. And that really, I mean, she's still with me today, like I said. And so getting lucky pretty much and finding someone that is so good, like gave me this template, this foundation to like keep going, because I could allocate things with a little bit more ambiguity, right? Like it didn't, I mean, even I ended up hiring her roommate because she had too much to do, and he was also still with me, and customers would ask for things that I started to not be able to know how to do. I would ask them like, hey, are you guys cool with doing this? And they're like, yeah, we'll figure it out. And so that's how we have really probably how you found me is through like the video that I was doing the tutorial for the layered stencil.
Yeah.
That's an example. I didn't know how to do that. They learned how to do that before I did and started offering it to customers. So I kind of learned from them.
Right. Yeah.
I took it in my own direction, but
I mean, that's a huge important thing too. Outsourcing and releasing some control, which for me, I'm a control freak. And it's really difficult to let someone into, you know, because again, these are our businesses are our babies, and so kind of one, it's the trust, and can I trust them with this kind of stuff? You know, are they going to do it as well as I did or better? But as soon as you do, like, so my first thing that I outsourced was my accounting. I actually have a degree. I have a bachelor's in finance, and all my degree taught me was that I hate finance. So that was the first thing I hired for because I could do it, but I wasn't doing it. And, you know, then at the end of the year, it was this mess that I had to make sense of. And I always felt like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right. I'm doing TurboTax and like, you know, it's walking me through, but some of the questions I didn't really know how to answer it properly and didn't know if I was claiming things and knew I wasn't taking advantage of like the write-offs and that kind of stuff. All the deductions. And then recently, you know, using, getting a VA, and that helped a lot, virtual assistant, because like she helped with my latest course that I did, and she made the landing page for me. And she made it amazing, and in literally probably a tenth of the time that it would have taken me. And that's when I was like, oh, there really is something to,
Outsourcing.
yeah,
Yeah.
outsourcing and
Yeah.
getting help where you can, especially on the things that you may not enjoy doing.
Yeah. For sure.
And it can really, that's what helps you grow, because if you feel like you have to control everything or have to be a part of every piece, you're going to hold yourself back from the potential growth and seeing where it can go.
Yeah. I love the all the content that you have out, the art pieces. I've always loved watching those come together.
Yeah, the process.
The process of it. Also the like the street art guys that do like they usually do space things with spray paint and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So watching the stencils ones is crazy. Are those like the content that you put out and the pieces of art that you do, are those like one-off projects just for content, or are those things that you like offer? So if someone asks for like the Jack Nicholson, for instance, or the gorilla, is that something that they can purchase, or is that just that you make for content?
So it's just for content and to go viral, kind of promote the product, right? The layered stencils. And at first we were offering those layered stencil sets as a thing that we would sell. It's kind of going back to the licensing and the legality of things.
Yep.
It's a little bit hairy, and like if you really analyze it, there's like so many parties that could actually, if you do like a Tom Brady painting, it's like you probably get sued by the photographer, Tom Brady, the Patriots, or the NFL. Like right. So it's like, all right, we kind of stopped adding those to the site. And so we've been trying to come up with, it's our 90% of our revenue is custom stencils. And the theory there is that I've learned this over the last 10 years, but usually people don't just want a stencil of a dog. They want their dog, right? And so that's why you can make 100 golden retriever stencils, designs, put them up, but it's not the one that they want, right? And so I think that, we're still working on kind of more ownable designs like flowers, nature, that type of thing.
Right, more generic,
Exactly. I think we've expanded, going back to how I was telling you that the positioning back then was like a DIY, right? We've realized that, and even with these DIY customers, everyone is typically has a commercial purpose in the end. There's not a whole lot of, I just want to buy this to do a project for myself.
Right.
And I'm sure, as you guys know, with your fans and listeners, like everyone has you want to do a project, and like maybe it's just fun for you, but most of the time, from what I've learned, they want to make this and share it with people, whether that's selling it. And, I don't start a huge business or make a lot of money, but there's like, if I buy a stencil, it's so that I could do something multiple times. So I'm not just using that South Carolina stencil to make my own front door sign. I could make a dozen of them and put them on Etsy, right? So I forgot where I was going with the answer. I don't even know what you asked me, but
I don't even remember either. Oh yeah, yeah. It's another good point with the licensing and stuff. I see like a lot of like art, like kind of pages that I follow. They'll do those, and sometimes, like, I don't know if there's any legal risk to just doing them for content. Like, again, if you're just making something, for content purposes, but you're not selling it, it's like for your home or whatever. And it's hard because that line, it's like, I've seen where doing that, like, art for a well-known company, it can do two things. It can either get you sued depending on how they view it or how you're using it, or it can be what grows and makes you go viral, and then now they want you to make something else. And then, like recently, Ike is his name, Ike Winter. He makes art basically from reclaimed wood. He doesn't paint anything. He doesn't use any stains.
Yeah.
It's all, he gets furniture from the side of the road or from junkyards or whatever and turns it into art. And he made one that was a box of crayons, Crayola. And I don't think he was selling it, but then Crayola reached out to him and wanted him to do, this whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then now recently the NFL reached out to him and had him make all of the signs for the NFL for the draft.
Oh, I saw that.
And
yeah. Okay,
he's awesome. He just in case he doesn't come on, it's no pressure, but he did tell me he would be on. He was another one I shot my shot with. But I found him when he did the Crayola thing, and it was so inspiring to see that like it literally could be that one project.
Yeah.
That takes you, to that next level. Was there one particular one like that for you, or was it kind of just a combination of several? And then, one side note, I'm proud of you for kind of, sticking to that licensing and stuff, because in the laser world, there's a lot of people who don't, and it kind of can convolute things because new people don't understand that there's a risk to their business that they're taking when doing those. But I'll get off my soapbox for that one. But anyway, so was there like one particular thing that you saw that really like pushed it, or was it just a combination?
There wasn't anything in particular. I will say on the licensing stuff, don't be afraid to make something. In the worst case scenario, they'll ask you to take it down. I think social media, especially the Crayola thing's a great example, or like, they could have sued him, but they were like, okay,
that's amazing.
Now, I don't know specific to the project, like
me either.
But like he used their brand name, whatever. They were like, they actually thought that they had an idea from it, and they gave him money instead of tried to scrape it back. So I think like companies have that mindset more now. Of,
true.
Like, using social media for ideas. For me, I want to work with the NFL, right? And so if the NFL looks into me and then sees that I'm selling a bunch of NFL stuff without a license, that's why I try to avoid it, is because
very true.
I like, not that I'm some huge artist, but when the opportunity arises, I want to be like ready for it, and I don't want them to think that I'm being sketchy.
For sure.
And so that's just kind of the way that I think about it. But that's obviously not how I was thinking about it in the beginning. So, to go back to your question of, did one kind of video or project get things rolling? Not really. I always wanted to make content to promote the business, because selling stencils is a really difficult thing to do.
Right. True.
I've learned. The project, or the product rather, is like, it's like translucent. It's hard to photograph. Every time I explain to people what I do, they're like, stencil, like they're like, stencils for what? Like, for paint, and it's like, well, all kinds of things. It's easier just now show them that Instagram. Look at all the things you could do. But obviously before I created all that content, it wasn't all in one place. And so over the years, especially like kind of projectiled by the pandemic, creating videos and content, and like we talked about these layered stencil videos, they started to get enough traction where, and I was doing so many of them, like a new one every day, that people were like commenting, asking, do you guys make stencils? And it was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, of course, that's why I'm making all these videos. That's why
I'm doing this.
But they became like their own thing. And actually, companies started reaching out to the Stencil Stop account, being like, hey, can you make a video? I remember the first paid one I did was for Amazon for the Cinderella movie that came out in 2021, I think. With so that I posted on the Stencil Stop account, and I got a couple like paid projects on there, but that made it even more confusing, right? Because it's like kind of like what we were talking about before with your business. It's like, does Stencil Stop now make videos for customers of using stencils? Like, then people are really not going to know what we do if they're already confused, right? So
Right.
I actually got some advice from, I think it was with that Amazon project, because a lot of them, and this I've learned this over the last few years, I didn't work directly with Amazon.
Right.
I worked with a marketing company
Oh,
who
right.
works with Amazon.
Who Amazon's their client. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Amazon's their client. They have a budget to work with creators or kind of probably spend the money however they see fit, right?
Right.
And so a guy from that marketing company, I kind of asked him like, "Hey, I want to do more of these projects. Do you have any ideas?" And he kind of called me offline and he was like, "Hey, you should start your own account for your art. And then that way you can have your account for your business that runs ads, it promotes the business, the core product that you already have.
Right,
then you'll have
right.
like kind of like a creator account." And this is in 2021, so like I think that there were the creator economy was definitely like a lot smaller.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
It's obviously pretty mature now.
Yeah.
But that I didn't even like really occur to me that I could do that. And so
Yeah.
and even at the beginning it was really unclear like what would the difference between the two accounts be? Like how do I make like art versus
Right.
making like and then if I'm using stencils to make the art, like isn't that kind of what I'm doing for the business? Like
Right.
Right.
and I still struggle with like differentiating the two
Yep.
brands, to be honest. But
Mhm.
yeah, probably within 3 or 4 months of having that account, I had probably 1,000 followers, and Sports Center actually grabbed one of my videos and reposted it
Nice.
on their account, and it shot me up to like 10,000 followers. So
Wow.
that went like in a day, and then
Yeah.
you know I don't know how it works with other people, but
Mhm.
I have over 200,000 now on Instagram,
Yeah.
and like probably 90% of the followers are from like 5 videos. So it's just very like some of them go viral, you get a bunch of followers, and
Yep.
then you're kind of just trying to maintain in between. That's what
Right.
I've learned. But yeah, that was a big inflection point of like, okay, there's that they posted that. I had a lot of sports content already on there, and I got a bunch of quick projects from that. And then it was really obvious like what the difference between the accounts was. Like Stencil Stop, we sell stencils made by Cito. I make videos for people using stencils kind of based on what they need. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, you never know what piece of content is going to go viral. And so
yeah.
honestly, like you just making more of it is the huge part, because like it could be one from 2 years ago, it could be one from last month, it could be all of a sudden like I posted this at the right time and the right people saw it, and then it just
and
grew.
it's in his case it's art.
Yeah.
So it's subjective too. So the
Right.
right piece of art grabs the right person who shares it, and then or it grabs someone who then looks at, deep dives the account.
Right.
Because I do that a lot of times for things. I like, oh, what else have they made? And then you like, oh, you know what? I like this person, and either follow or start sharing like other things with either within like their friend group. Like, oh, so-and-so is going to like this one. This is his favorite ball player or whatever. And then so-and-so is going to love this gorilla one.
Yeah. Well, I'd say art is a little bit more shareable too, because like none of us really subconsciously even we don't really like being sold to. So like if we're like, oh, you're trying to sell me on stencils, that's why, whatever. But when it's like art, it's almost more like, oh, okay, being the little kind of artist that's inside of me, I'm like, oh, I want to share it. If I think it's cool, I'm going to share it on my page.
Yeah.
And yeah, doing the art side of it's very smart that you use that to kind of grow the stencil shop too, and that they're kind of like, the muddy waters. It seems to work.
Yeah, they supplement each other, right?
For sure.
I think made a great point with the deep dive. It's like I don't need to hard sell anyone.
Right.
I think everyone knows at this point online, like even if you see an artist they're trying to sell you something, right?
Right.
They want to sell their art at the very
Exactly.
least.
right.
True. Very true.
Maybe they're like have an Amazon link to some supplies, and
Yes.
you know, if you want to support people, you can. But
Yep.
same situation with mine. My customers for my art have been sports teams and movie studios, and that's really cool. And if people see the stencils, like I'll give them access to
Right.
go to the website and buy stencils, and they can get a discount code through my site. But they don't need to. Like I don't feel the need to
Push
it
part.
on
Yeah.
people. And I mean, like I said, selling the stencils online is so hard.
Right.
It's actually really, it's not something that, you know, you can market into being an impulse purchase. Like from what I've learned anyways,
it's very specific.
You need it. And then you start your journey of like, I think I might need this. And then they come across us. It's not a thing where you put it in front of people and they're like, oh, I can use that today. Like, no, it's typically not like that. It's more of a tool, like a hammer or something than like a t-shirt or a gift idea.
The using the art part though, I think because it looks so cool and like we're attracted to the art like piece of it. It like I don't need a stencil, but I'm sitting here thinking about like what could I get in a stencil to like to use it just because it's so cool, like supporting one another or whatever. Like it's kind of like the trompe-l'oeil painter that we had on that someday we'll be able to afford one from her.
Put it in the house somewhere.
But like I was like, oh, I want to support her one because she's just so freaking talented, and then you know like it's for the marketing piece of it. I feel like all of us as business owners, we're looking for different ways to get our stuff out there. You don't want like the same sign that everyone else has. So if you see a unique way that someone's making cool signs, you're like, oh, that'd be great in my logo or.
Well, and even with like some of the RPs that he's done on the on the other Instagram, you can just change up like the color. You can make it like artsy color and stuff like that, so the same stencil can still give you a different look.
Right.
And I was wondering how long do they like last, or are they like, you know, how much usage do you get out of a stencil?
Usure. You can use them, we say hundreds of times. I don't think you ever really need to use them that much, but I guess I have a little like signature stencil that I'll use for my paintings, and I've used it probably hundreds of times actually. So it just, you know, if you're beating them up and it's like on a construction site or whatever, maybe order a few. You know, but really like they're pretty strong. So I think the main usage issue after a long time is like the paint getting caked up on it.
Right.
And you can definitely clean it, but like anything, like
it won't be as brand new. It
won't be as new. It's like you do need to buy a new pair of shoes eventually, even if you know it gets worn out. So they last quite a while though. That's one thing with our material and the shipping and everything is the durability is never an issue for sure.
What does your packaging look like? Being a packaging designer, is it like fancy?
That's actually a great point. I just
he doesn't do it himself. I bet you he just buys it.
I just buy it. I know. It's actually like totally ironic that I want to do like I have a whole idea in my head of like how sick it could be.
Right.
But, again, the nature of it being a custom product is like we make anything from like a little coffee topper stencil to like a 30-foot stencil that people use on like a football field.
Building.
And so we kind of just do what we can. A lot of it, like the bigger stuff, we just have huge cardboard sheets and the guys just like kind of fit it in there. We have these paper envelopes. They get the job done. But I literally actually this last week just ordered a bunch of corrugated like paper or cardboard, I guess, like folders that are going to be a little bit stronger. So
nice.
But unfortunately, it's nothing like
darn.
Maybe some like
nothing signature.
Right? I mean, so would you sell your like packaging like services as well? So like in the laser community, if there's people who have like a well selling item, a lot of times that you're looking like the package options on Amazon are kind of limited to, you know, what's typical, and sometimes, you know, finding what you want, or Uline, they have a ton of options, but the shipping a lot of times is insane for a lot of small businesses. So, I mean, I don't know if that's is something you offer, but the laser community is always like looking for, you know, because I mean, there's a lot that goes into them, especially if they like fold within each other and,
Right.
you know, yeah.
I don't currently offer that, but if there is, just hit me up, message me, Made by Cito on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll try to answer your questions, and you know.
Yeah, because I've seen people ask about packaging. I mean, all the time, actually. Because again, finding that right size, also that's like not super expensive to ship. That's something I ran into. Was I found like what I thought was the perfect sizes, and then I went to use them, and because they were taller than they were like long, it was more expensive to ship that box, and then I'm paying more than what I charged my customer, and so it wasn't worth it. The white boxes that are like 4 inches tall, I think, those are terrible for me to ship because they're always way more expensive than I thought.
Yeah.
And so I got some that are like almost the same probably size, but are more flat, and those were cheaper to print these or to ship. Those were things I never thought were a thing. You don't figure them out until you're in like, you know, the process of doing it. But packaging, I mean, it really is like a need, because again, it depending on how niche your business is, which the part that I love about the laser business is you can have so many just random niches that can be like the thing that
that was another huge draw to have you on the show, is like, you know, stencils. Like, who would have thought that a laser would be used in cutting out the stencils?
Yeah.
What's been like your favorite project to work on?
That's a good question.
Either because it was like super complicated, or just because it was like really cool.
My favorite project for my art has been, I got to go paint live at Steph Curry's charity golf tournament a couple years ago, which was pretty cool. So there was like a bunch of athletes and celebrities there, and they're the ones that I did the paintings of. So like I was doing a painting of Steve Young, who's like my favorite 49ers quarterback from growing up. And I was doing the painting of him with stencils, and I turned around and he's right there watching me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like, holy shit, this is crazy, man. And he was like, that's amazing. I don't know how you do that. It's like, no, dude, you're amazing. Like, what the hell? That's crazy. So that's the first thing that comes to mind for my art.
That's definitely
that was a cool experience. And then I'm trying to think for Stencil Stop, we've definitely done some cool projects. We did one that comes to mind is we did a bunch of stencils for A24, the movie studio, like metal stencils. They have, I don't know what their situation is. I'm not the biggest movie guy, although I know the A24 movies are like kind of have a cult following. And so I think they have an e-commerce store where they sell stuff. And I'm not sure how they came up with the idea to sell stencils, but they have a bunch of our stencils on their website. They might have ran out. I don't know, like if they did a limited. They ordered like 300 or 500 or something, but that was pretty cool. You know, a lot of these, especially customers, like the whole point of our business is like to make it easy for people. So A24 can just order a bunch of stencils, and like we don't even really have to talk to them, which makes it easy for them. So like working with them is a little bit like, all right, well, we kind of just did an order.
Right.
You know?
True.
So it's like we're part of it, but yeah. So I'm trying to think. There was one that I know we shipped to the Indiana Pacers recently. It was like a big basketball court. I think a lot of those go to like outdoor kind of parks, basketball courts. Like here in Sacramento, we have a bunch of Kings branded courts that I know they did for that they pay for in the community. So that might have been that situation, but it's good. I love sports, and So anything that we end up working with a team is like super rewarding and cool to see.
So what is your setup like now? So I've seen like some of the behind the scenes clips or like the tutorials. There's several lasers in there. So like, is that your shop now?
Yeah, that's the shop now. Nice. I wish I was in there. Speaking of the leaf blower, it would just have like crazy background noise. And
right.
They blast Pat McAfee all day on the speaker.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It wouldn't be a good podcast setup, but we have 4 laser cutters. We actually just finished a project. I guess I wouldn't think that people would think this is cool, but I'm on a laser cutter podcast. So
right.
We finished like an HVAC project where we just had, you know how the laser cutters come and they just have like a fan for exhaust and like the tubes. And I've only ever received like the kind of shitty Chinese fans that everything's like in Mandarin on them. And
right.
Then they turn this way and then they turn that way. And then the tubes are all like, over each other. So we just finished a project where we got like a actual giant big HVAC fan on the roof, and like it's all mounted to the walls, and it reduced all of the tube situation. So that's really cool for us. Anyways,
you mean for like venting the lasers?
For venting.
Man, venting the lasers is a science in itself, especially when you have multiples. So we moved things around. I used to have a bigger laser, but most of the stuff I do is smaller. So we ended up downsizing my laser, reorganizing the whole space, moving it over, and we had to vent the fiber and the CO2 laser. And so that, trying to figure out how to vent them both with like blast gates and like where the hose, where the hose going to go.
You always got to worry about where those hose go.
I know, it's really important. You got to keep them in line.
They get away from you sometimes.
Yeah.
Can't have hose everywhere.
No. So, but it's like a science in itself, because you don't want to have too many bends. You don't want, too much distance, all that stuff. So that's something we would geek out over too. Cause
cool. Well, what I could do is send you guys, when it's quiet in there, I'll walk through and just maybe record a little video of the setup.
Yeah, we love seeing people's setups.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that this week.
Yeah, because I was pretty proud of mine with the different vents.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 real what do you call those? The slide.
The blast gates.
The blast gates. I don't know why I couldn't think of blast gates, but it has 2 blast gates, so that way like we can close off the fiber when we're not using it, and so that way it doesn't lose suction, because it's like just the fan turns on and it's sucking from both ends, so I can shut off one, and so I was very proud of how that whole how I put it together with PVC and stuff. I love, and I've seen some really cool ones. With people who've had like multiple fibers, because the fiber lasers are open, so those have to be almost movable, so you can put it as close as you can to the material. And this guy had like metal piping goes along like the wall along the table. It's table height, and then he has each one had a blast gate. And they were coming out. It was super cool.
Who was
super
that? And why
clean.
didn't you send it to me?
I did send it to you, but it stuck in my mind. And that was kind of like what I thought of when we were setting ours up.
Yeah.
But it was like really cool because it looks so clean. And usually, like you were saying, when you hook up, like especially if you only have one machine,
right?
You don't really think about it. You just put you just either drill a hole somewhere or out a window, and because you just need the function.
Yeah.
But kind of like cable management.
Yeah.
When you see a really clean cable management thing, you're like, oh, that looks good. Then you look at your wire, your mess, and you're like, I wish mine looked like that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh crap! I had a question, but it's gone now.
It's gone.
Maybe it'll come back on the after show. We're close to that. Yeah. Okay, yeah, because we didn't start the timer.
No, but the
right
timer
time.
is up there in the corner now on the screen. You can see it because it's bigger.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to look at this one, and I didn't want him to see me trying to get all close to the screen, like squinting. So then we'll get towards the end where we wrap up what John now calls the Gen Pop version. So what is one tool skill or mindset that has made like a big impact on your business, you think?
Sure. I think one mindset that I've at least recently been kind of using is, I think it's like a little phrase. What is it? Great is the enemy of good, I think. So like doing things, I think Barbara on Shark Tank said something like 75% is good enough.
Yes.
So I'm kind of a perfectionist about like
Same.
how a page should be set up, or like photography for a product listing.
Yep.
And I've learned that just like getting it done is
most important. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a lot easier to just get it out and update it later if, you know.
Yeah.
So that goes with, probably, as you know, like editing and things of that nature. Like, I'm not sure how it would work. Maybe news is different, but at least for social media, for me, it's like I could spend twice as long editing it to make it 5% better, but that's
Right.
not, it's not,
Well,
it's not feasible.
A lot of times in editing, it's for me and not for anybody else who sees it, because anybody else will never notice.
Never notice. Exactly.
Whether I make the change or not, they won't notice. But I'll notice every time I look at it. I'm like,
right.
I should have fixed that.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
As far as social content, I have to keep telling myself sometimes when it comes down to it, the ones that do well are the ones that took 2 seconds, almost zero editing, had the flaws in there. But it's again, it's hard when you're a perfectionist, because it can go both ways, as far as like, it being great and it being a good content and that's why it goes viral, or it just being something that you put out there. I've seen both, but it's always like it reminds me of like anytime you go outside. When I was single, I would get hit on when I looked like complete crap. But if I actually like tried to get myself together, I would see nobody, no one would say anything. So it's like, doing the best, and I have some pictures on my website for the keychain part of our business, that I have the ones where I took tons of time and I had like my, my replica studios set up, and I had the lighting great and all the props and all the things. And then I also have the metal blanks where it's literally my hand in a black background, because I needed to get it up so that I could sell it, because it was just sitting there waiting for the time for the perfect pictures. So, and I also haven't updated them. Right. So that's the hard part too.
But the thing is, you can.
True.
Whenever you want or are ready to, you can upgrade, but you have it there for people to buy. If you're waiting for the perfect picture to post the product,
it won't sell at all.
It's going to sit on the shelf because no one knows it's for sale.
Yep.
One thing I've been telling my team lately, I forget where I heard it, I think on a podcast probably, is like, what's the highest impact with the lowest effort thing that we can do, right? So like changing an image might have a low effort, but like a low impact, because it like maybe no one ever buys that or whatever it is. Right. So, that's what I always try to remind us to, is like, all right, what's the thing that we can get done the fastest with the least amount of effort that's gonna make the biggest change right now? And sometimes that's still a huge project, but sometimes it's something really easy.
And the 75% thing, I think I've heard 70%. I've also heard 80%. When you hire someone, if they can do it 80% as...
Yes, what is it? 20-80 rule.
Yeah. Then it's 80% is still good enough, and it opens you up to do the other stuff that someone who's not you can't do. Yeah. And then did you have any book recs?
Yeah, 4-hour work week is a good one. It's probably a bit outdated now, but it definitely gives you that like outsourcing mindset. I set up my whole structure of the business pretty much based on that, in terms of no one needing to contact me ever about anything. So like I'm sitting here doing this, I don't know what orders are coming in, or there's people talking to customers, people shipping out orders all while I'm sitting here, which is great. Like that's a good thing, makes my life great anyways. And I wrote down the other 2 books. Hold on. The Lean Startup is a good book that I've revisited a few times. So that definitely has some good, it kind of goes back to that impact versus effort thing of like testing out products and ideas with the quickest type of timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Goal is another book that I've read, and it's about manufacturing, and it's like a fictional story about a guy who works at a manufacturing plant, and his plant is going to get closed by the corporate headquarters, and how he turns his whole plant around. And that's interesting. I think your listeners might be interested because it's about manufacturing and all the like the company, and they make widgets or whatever. It's not specific, so it's like broadly applicable to any type of business. I always think about my kind of in the custom stencil process, like the designers are not a machine, but like that's a step in the process to a customer, right? It's part of the timeline. And so I think anybody who's manufacturing things, like if you're using a laser cutter and you do things for a customer, you have a design step, you have a sourcing material step, you have these different phases that you have to go through. And so I found that extremely helpful, learning about manufacturing like that.
And something we forgot to say in the beginning, congrats on the marriage, by the
way.
way.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Newlywed.
Right?
Life is pretty much the same, but
right. Just more permanent.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It'll be 11 years married for us in a couple weeks.
Oh, great. Congrats. Happy early anniversary.
Thank you. Okay, so I was looking up the codes. Yeah. So if you too want a stencil, because I'm gonna go look and see if I can get some ideas. So is that it? Yeah, 15% off with code Riley Black Designs. So then for everyone, the patrons, there's a bigger discount. So I'll post that.
So where can people, we've already mentioned it through the show, but where can people go to use a discount, and where can people see your art?
Sure. Use the discount at stencilstop.com. You can follow along with any of those stencil videos at stencilstop on all social media. And then my account is made by Cito, CITO. Post a little bit less frequently on there, just doing generally the same stuff, art projects, slightly different, a little bit more cinematic, but check it out. Follow if you like it. If not, just leave a hateful comment. It's cool.
Right. Hey, any engagement is good
engagement. Yeah.
Good press or bad press is still
right.
Press. Yeah. So I definitely encourage you guys to take a look at his stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally love watching all those like process videos to see the finished thing. And fun, and the good thing that I like that you don't do that a lot of these, because on Facebook, especially on Facebook, there are a lot of these like ones that like hold the reveal for so long that it's like pointless, and it's like at the end of the day,
or it's in a second video and I'm like over it.
Yeah, and I'm like, when it does on those, I don't go to the accounts to see the second video. I'm like, no, you took up enough of my time. Because I feel like this one is going to be full of like a lot of talk before this big reveal. If you're making a whole video for the reveal, and then a lot of times the payoff isn't worth it.
Right, you're
it's like it doesn't look that good.
I generally try to not piss people off, so
it's a good idea.
But the pieces are great, and I also like they try to hide it. As they change the stencil, they try to hide it, and I'm like, bro, we know what you're doing. You show the finished product sometimes like at the beginning. So I know what it's going to look like.
Or if someone sends you the reel, you see the cover photo, and so you already see what it's
so I know what it's going to look like. But
that guy you're talking about is actually like our biggest customer.
Well, I've seen a few people like that. It's not just one guy.
It's true.
I've seen a few of them. So I'm not like singling out one account. It's a few of them that do it. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. They catch me all the time. Unless there's a lot of talk at the front end. When there's a lot of talk at the front end, I already know what this is going to be. I'm like, I'm not going to see
tuning
it.
out.
I'm not going to see it. And if I do see it, it's not going to be worth it. So he doesn't do it. It's great. It's a great process as they go along.
Another really fun video.
Because it's cool. You see it like, you see the image change and develop, and it's really cool. It's really cool. So definitely check him out. Stay right there. We're going to go to our Patreon portion. This is the end of Gen Pop, where you get to hear this is our life update coming up, where you get to hear our big announcement. And we are back.
Yep.
And you're back from your girls trip. How did it go?
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
The arrival was a little rough with
You guys had to take like, so you
God.
went one day and then the next day had to be like a recovery half day.
literally, because so what the idea was, and part of the reason we stayed near Orlando, it wasn't technically in Orlando, but near Orlando, was because so we live an hour and a half from the airport.
Right.
And so it was just too much. We couldn't get them to have
Same
airlines or the flight times,
Right.
arrival times
Right.
similar, and it would have been like having to go to the airport twice
Right.
or
Yeah.
stay there, or it was just a whole convoluted thing. And then a week or two before, the New Jersey Newark airport had like this whole
The
thing
tower had,
where
like, a whole thing.
it just issues with staffing and the towers and all that, and it like literally they gave you free plane change or flight change like transfers because they encourage you to fly somewhere else
Right.
if you could, because it was just that bad. I mean, Bree saw news about it in California on the Newark. So she switched to another airport, and as it would happen, we're pretty sure her other flight would, if she
Would have
hadn't
gone on
changed
time?
only so she didn't check again, I don't think, but it was only like an hour or two delayed.
Oh.
And the airport that she changed it to, her flight kept being delayed.
Yeah.
So much so that the plane, so she was supposed to take off, I think, around 9, and she was going to land at like 11:30. Not a problem,
Right.
because I'm always up late anyway. Well, then it kept getting pushed back, and then it was like she was going to land at 3 a.m.
She probably could have drove from Jersey
Literally,
here
probably.
and gotten here before that flight.
Yeah. So they already knew about one delay, so they went to dinner instead because they knew, it wasn't.
At that
and then,
point, yeah.
Right. And then she finally got there. The plane got there at 10. The worst part, there was now no flight crew
Right.
to fly them out. So they had to wait until midnight in order to leave. Like, the plane is sitting there looking at you, but you can't get on it.
Because the crew was probably on another plane.
The crew, because it was so late, that crew went home.
Right. And the next crew was probably on another plane.
Yes.
Land
and so they
change.
that's what they said. That the crew that was going to take them, they had to find a crew to take them. And they finally found a crew, but that crew didn't land until whatever time. And so then they had to go.
Making calls. Hey, can you work overtime today? Hey,
Literally.
can you work overtime?
Pretty much is probably what they were doing. So she finally landed at 2:45. And I was going to pick them up, but because it was so late, I went to bed at 1:45, but I couldn't stay awake any longer. And so, but then I still set the alarms because I wanted to make sure she got to the house okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept setting the alarms and kind of checking on her and like making sure she was at least getting there. And then when she got there, I got up and I gave her a hug. And then went back to bed, and I knew that Bree really wanted us to pick her up from the airport, but she had already told us it's okay if you don't.
Okay.
And so I set the alarms because we would have had to leave at like 6:30. And both Jess and I was like, okay, let's set an alarm for 6:00, see how we feel, and then, maybe go get her if we can. That alarm went off, and I was like, I can't do it. And because it was literally like I slept for an hour, and then Jess got there, and then I slept for like 2 hours, and then my alarm went off, and I was, oh my God, I was so exhausted. And dropping them off to the airport on Sunday, it's a damn good thing I didn't go pick up either of them.
Yeah.
Because in the middle of the night, super confusing.
Oh.
Like, thankfully the GPS was pretty good about telling me which way to go.
Right.
But it was so complicated. And like Terminal A, so backed up. C was easy, or whatever. I don't know which one it was, but one of them was super backed up and a pain in the butt, and one of them was not. But yeah, so besides that, we had a really, really good time. The first day we took it easy, ordered breakfast later on in the day. Oh, we went to a rage room. That was pretty fun. It left something to be desired. They didn't have AC.
Did you guys record anything? Like, did you take pictures or anything?
She did do a time lapse.
Okay.
Yeah, but we didn't post them. We didn't post them yet.
And
then
I didn't see anything from the Ranger room.
Yeah, and then what did we do? The next day we again like took it easy. Woke up whenever we woke up. We were talking like a good portion of the day, and we're like, okay, we can either sit here and talk all day, or we can go do something. And we were both fine with either, but we decided to go on a boat tour. That was pretty cool. It was hot, but it was fun.
You guys have tumblers.
Oh yeah, Bree made each of us. You probably can't see them, but it's my first Stanley.
Like real Stanley.
It's real Stanley, and it was little. Yeah, yours is a knockoff.
These, but these aren't real Stanleys.
But she drew like a little like laser graphic.
We'll take a picture. We'll put a picture up.
Put my name in it, and then our combined name because it's Riley Black, Jersey Girl Sign Shop, and the Burn Shack. So I came up with a combination.
With their powers put together.
Jersey Blackburn. Yeah.
Jersey Blackburn.
So that's what it says underneath. Yeah. And then the last day, no, that was Friday. The boat tour was on Saturday, I think. I don't know. Actually, no, that might have been that was on Thursday. Yeah, here we came Saturday. I'm all convoluted. Yeah. But anyway, it's Friday night. We dressed up like grannies and made a lot of content, and then went out to a bar. It was really hard choosing what bar. We almost didn't go at the last second. Bree was like, "Should we just get Taco Bell and come back here?" And I was like, oh, like it was tempting,
right?
But it was like we also wanted to go out, So, and we're like, we don't know anybody here.
I'm surprised you didn't go bar hopping.
No, yeah. So, because there's too much anxiety. Every new bar would be anxiety of walking in.
And every new Lyft driver.
Oh my God, the first Lyft driver. So he was like a Spanish guy, and he acted as if we were normal people, and that made it so much more awkward. I'm like, oh, so we're not gonna address that we're all.
No,
he not. Like we get in, he's like,
I don't care.
All right, where are we going, ladies? And he just didn't say a thing. The guy who took us home, he was a lot more like personable and was asking us questions and talking to us. He was cool. But yeah, it was just, and then Saturday, we came up here and they got to, see where we live, visit the pigs, see the boys, see you.
Workspace.
Yeah, see the workspace. And we made a bunch of content, so you'll be seeing, if you're sick of us, I'm sorry, because there's more coming. But yeah, we just had a really good time, and we, talked to some about lasers, but a lot about just life and general stuff, and just hung out. We watched a documentary. We watched a bunch of like Botched and watched, them fix the surgeries, and it was just hanging out with girlfriends. Yep. So it was a good time.
Yeah. I while on that first night, I went to Cerulean Tides event.
Oh, I was like, you went
Amanda.
somewhere?
Yeah, with Amanda.
Yeah, I'm so sad that those
funny,
were at the same time.
It was funny because everyone was like, "Where's Crystal?" Because I'm
never
not allowed to be alone.
No, not at a laser thing.
So so it was like, "Where's Crystal?" I'm like, "Oh, she's on a girls trip." And they're like, "Oh, where?" Orlando, not too far. I know.
Yeah, but far enough because we thought about driving down,
right,
but it was like 3.5 hours, each way, and I was like, ugh.
It would have been a lot, especially after you drove an hour and a half over there to get to be there, and then driving over and back. Yeah, it'd been a lot. And then if you did come over here,
we wouldn't have come here.
Yeah. Well, you probably would have came here. Well, no, because I wouldn't have been here.
Right.
And the boys would have been in school. Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't have came. So I went to that. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Steve was there. Eon, David, and
Mindy, Emily.
Yep, Emily was there. They did. I got to see how the print and cut work from the UV laser to the lasers. So that was pretty cool. I heard about
UV
it, but this is the
printer
first
to the
time.
laser.
What'd I say?
UV laser.
Oh, UV to the laser.
Yeah.
I guess. But that was pretty cool to see how, because I wonder how that lines up and how that works. So it was pretty cool to see how that works. Shout out to Emily. She's gonna come out with a video on That Mom with the Laser, explain how to get them to line up and how to do all that. So I'm not gonna give her. I jokingly told her I'm gonna go home and make a video real quick, and then yeah. So she's gonna be look out for that video. I don't know when, because I don't know when how her workflow is, but she is making a video on how to do print to cut. So that was fun. It was good. It was great. Like always, it was great seeing everybody.
Yeah.
And then the big announcement which is nerve-wracking right after.
It really is.
Like in about 15 minutes, we're gonna go hand in the lease. We are leasing an office space to build a podcast studio that will be for the public. to come in. Podcast / content studio.
Yeah.
So this won't be going anywhere. We're staying in our garage. It's not 3.0. This is not 3.0.
No.
This is.
We might record on it from time to time, depending.
Maybe. I mean, I think maybe we should do like an inaugural show.
Yeah.
Like the first show out of that studio.
We should.
Will be.
We got to be
ours.
the ones to pop the show cherry.
Right. But it's gonna be great. I'm gonna be essentially I'll be producing / engineering all the shows, switching through the cameras, and. Yeah, we workshopped price strategies yesterday, came up with the logo, all the fun stuff that comes with starting a new venture.
There's so much. You just don't even think about, you're like, oh, I just need to do this and this. And then you're like, oh, but I need to do this, but I also need to buy the domains. I need to, Yeah,
do all the things.
We told
and then,
David was like hinting at something coming with him, and I was like, we
have
something. Yeah,
we gotta tell him.
We gotta tell him today.
Before this
then he
comes
was
out.
like, I was like, oh well, us too. We have a secret.
Friday.
Yeah, I was like, we have a secret too, and he was like, what? Tell me. And I'm like, no, you won't tell me, so I'm not telling you. And then he goes, is it another? Are you guys opening a 10th business? I died because yes, we are.
Yes, we are. So we'll have Riley Black Studios will be a thing.
Yeah.
And we hope to not stop at one. We hope to have
several options.
Hopefully,
at least like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it generates, and we could have 2 or 3 different like styles. Because the first one we're gonna go with is similar to this table. Like table and chairs. I would love to have something with like 2 like. Not a love seat, but like 2
living
comfortable.
Room style.
Yeah, like a living room style.
I agree.
I would love to have that just to open it up, and then maybe like a bar looking one, or like something that's a little more masculine, just in case like there's some like guy shows or something like that, and they don't want like the table, they want more. Maybe we'll get like a cigar lounge. That would be cool. So it kind of look like the living room.
Yep.
But just a little like dark, like like dark brown leather and.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe even have like a fake humidor or something. Yeah, cigar. That would be good.
Or a real one.
Yeah, but it'd be hard to store the cigars and all that.
Yeah,
that's why I
true.
say fake one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the big announcement. We're starting Riley Black Studios, which I am gonna say now here, it's probably gonna engulf Riley Black Media.
Yeah.
Riley Black Media, I feel like is gonna be phased out.
Yeah, but you're still gonna do
so much time.
Yeah, but you're gonna do similar things.
Right. So
just
basically
in a different way.
Right. So basically it'll be a place. The content aspect of it would be, as we all know, podcasting is great for content.
Right.
So a lot of people, especially if you're following like self-help coaches or like those gurus, and you'll see them on a podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even a real show.
Yeah.
It's not even a real show. They're in the studio,
right?
And they have questions prepared that they're gonna answer.
Yep.
So there might be a host, but there might not be a host, and it's just them answering questions that they have already set. So that'll be the content aspect.
And that's kind of why we named it Riley Black Media, because we didn't want you to be like pinned down into one particular thing.
Well, because we didn't also know where.
Right.
But we did have the like sight of knowing that the business can change because of what's happened with
me
Riley
a
Black
million
Designs.
times. Yeah.
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 Cool.
So that's excitement. So we're gonna go hand in the lease. Both of our Amazon carts are full.
Oh my god,
mine
so full.
is full of gear, hers full of decor.
I'm decorating with some input from him. Hey, what do you think about this? Do you like this?
Well, my input is solely on camera
functionality. Yeah.
Well, no, on like how it's gonna look is on that end.
Yep.
Not how it's gonna look like
in person,
and stuff. Because in person does, when you have a new client come in and
it matters.
They want to see the space,
but
it matters that it's appealing. Because for me, it's like, well, past here, you see, like you don't even see my hand, so I don't need to have a hand.
Oh my god, like you don't see it, but
and you're not going to see it.
Doesn't go all the way to the top, and it drives me nuts.
It doesn't need to, because you don't see that. You just see it when you walk in. Yeah. So there are things even in this studio that are appealing on the podcast, but when you walk in, you're like, huh, I didn't think it looked like that.
Yeah.
Like we have this, you know how garage doors have the track? We have a big track going over our head.
Right above.
But you'll never see that.
Right. Yeah.
So
wish us luck. It's a little terrifying. We made a very calculated risk.
Yes.
We have a
one
short
show,
6-month lease.
Yeah, we have one show
already lined up. So it calculated, but we both kind of knew once we found this opportunity that like we kind of had to get rid of the what if.
Well, it was
we need
already
to give it a try.
This isn't something. So the opportunity presented itself out of nowhere, but this isn't something that we've never thought about.
No, we've talked about it.
We've talked when we
podcast studio number 1.
Right. Well, when we moved here, and I was gonna venture out on our own, we sat down with Katie, our tax lady, and one of the things we mentioned was like, oh, one day we'll have studios and different places. So this is the stepping stone to that, to be able to have the public come out and rent some space.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm boring you.
You're not. I was trying so hard not to yawn because it was a terrible time. I'm just really tired. Running on fumes.
Yep.
But
so well, I was gonna say I don't think we should end the show because of the Patreon part. We end the show, but we should end the show because Gen Pop.
Yeah.
This is the end for you guys.
Yeah.
So if you're Gen Pop, this is the end. You can see more over on Patreon. We had a great conversation.
We did.
Past that with Collin. And go check out his stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's
super
his
cool.
paintings are cool.
Yeah.
And lurk or follow. Up to you. Whatever you want to do.
Follow. Be nice.
Yes, be nice. Follow. It doesn't cost anything.
Right?
And that's been another great episode of the Right Back Project. Crystal and John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done. The Right Back Project. Bye.
Say bye.
Bye.
Wait, hold on. Nino, I'm recording.